Hi, guys. Welcome back to the baseline. Thank you so much for joining me today. So, somewhere between the protests and the bond charts, you can hear it, the slow hum of a continent forgetting how to breathe. Factories dim, ministers resign, and whole nations start speaking in the past tense. So, this isn't war, it's more like a withdrawal. Europe quietly pulling back from its own future. And the tragedy of it all, it didn't happen overnight. It happened while everyone was busy balancing the books. Because we have to go back to 2008, because when the 2008 crisis hit, the world split in two. America printed money and built tech, and China poured concrete and built cities. Europe, Europe built spreadsheets. Berlin called it discipline. History might call it amnesia, because the numbers tell the story like an autopsy. So 2 decades ago, Europe made up a fifth of the global GDP. Now it's barely at 14%. An aging workforce, innovation frozen in amber, and a currency designed like a straitjacket. So the euro was supposed to unify. Instead, it turned economic differences into fault lines. So think of it like 20 roommates sharing one credit card. One's frugal, one's reckless, and the bank keeps raising the interest rate for everyone. Now, that's not a union. That's becoming like a hostage situation. And Germany's obsession with black zero, never spending more than it earns, became kind of a religion. But austerity at the end of the day does not build dreams. It builds a sense of despair. And while the United States birthed Amazon and Tesla, Europe was still arguing about budget caps. And yet, no one wanted to say it out loud. Europe forgot how to grow. Innovation turned geriatric. The average age of its biggest companies? A century, guys. Meanwhile, American giants are young enough to still be on TikTok. A third of Europe's brightest startups packed up and left because the only thing growing faster than bureaucracy was the price of energy. So let's pause for a second and take a breath. Okay. So in 2022, when the Russian gas stopped flowing, Germany shut down its last nuclear plants. So that's like running out of food and deciding to burn your kitchen for warmth. Factories folded, energy bills exploded, and Europe, the industrial heart of the West, found itself begging for American LNG at triple the cost. But the real crisis isn't just economic, it's spiritual as well. Because when citizens watched their living standards erode while elites trade text messages over billion-euro deals, trust doesn't just die quietly, it detonates like a bomb. Now, across the continent, populist parties are starting to surge. The same people Brussels once mocked as fringe are now front row. Support for outsider movements has tripled since the 90s. But when the rent, heat, and hope all go up in price, ideology goes out the window. So let's take a look at France, right? 4 prime ministers in a year. Is that governance? A lot of people don't think that's governance. That's like speed dating. Credit ratings tumble, deficits double, and the bond market smells blood. The European Central Bank insists everything's functioning fine, like much the way the Titanic band insisted the music was lovely. And just when Europe could least afford humiliation, Washington changed the script. The United States vice president told European leaders point blank, "You're on your own." Then, in a move straight out of political satire, he met with Germany's far-right opposition instead of its chancellor. And if diplomacy, if it had emojis, that was a middle finger. So now Europe faces a question It swore it would never ask again. What if the alliance is over? And here's the twist nobody's ready for. The euro itself is splintering from within. Germany, once the hall monitor of fiscal virtue, just tore up its own rulebook, borrowing €1 trillion to rearm and rebuild. After decades of preaching austerity to others, Berlin just discovered the joys of a credit card. And that's the final irony, right? The European Central Bank can't save France without hurting Germany, and can't save Germany without breaking the rules it wrote in the very first place. So the system is quietly reverting to what it once feared most. 20 different nations, each printing policy like counterfeit unity. Economists have a polite name for this: financial repression. It means governments decide who gets credit and savers pay the price. Pension funds are nudged into buying government bonds. Banks are told when and where to lend, and it's not a free market. It's arranged marriage between power and money. And looming behind it all, the digital euro, a currency you can't hide under a mattress. The ECB calls it innovation. In reality, it's programmable obedience. Spend this by Tuesday or lose it. Now, that's not policy. That's a countdown. So where does this all go? Well, reports suggest capital controls are coming. Strong states will fence off their cash, weak ones will beg for access. And the euro may keep its name, but the union behind it is already fracturing like glass. And here's the part nobody actually mentions. Crisis doesn't destroy wealth, it redistributes it. The winners will be the corporations that align with the government spending, like defense, green tech, surveillance. And who are the losers going to be? The rest of us. The free market is being quietly replaced by the permission market. Europe's dream was unity through prosperity. Instead, it built bureaucracy through austerity. And now the bill is due. But there's still a choice here. Every empire faces this moment. Rome called it overreach. Britain called it decline. Europe could still call it renewal, if it finds the courage to remember why it was born, not to control its citizens, but to protect them from control. So what do you guys think? Do I have this all right? Do I have it all wrong? Put it in the comment section below. I look forward to reading all of your opinions and comments. And of course, thank you guys so much for watching The Baseline, and we'll catch you the next round. Okay, cheers everybody.